let me be honest with you. There are a lot of ways to win your wife back, and some are such a pain in the ass. They cost more money, they have a smaller chance of working, and they take way longer than the one I'm going to show you today. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal to you an order of steps you must take to win your wife back. These don't require forcing your wife to understand you or convincing her that you've changed. And they work so well, she doesn't even need to be involved in the process. In fact, out of the hundreds of marriages that we've already saved, never once did we have a wife involved in the beginning of the process for those marriages.
She was totally closed off, done. This is what I want. Filed. I got served.
Wow.
So that was like her thing. Like she was full steam ahead, and nothing I could do, say, was stopping it. We are back, like I said, to a space or a place I never thought we would be. We're flirting again. So we're definitely best friends again.
Wow.
We're flirting, we're joking, we're having tickle fight, like we're having fun again. But also being affectionate.
Now, the first principle we're going to discuss is that your wife is the canary in the coal mine and you are the miner. So what does this mean? Well, your wife is the canary in the coal mine. When miners used to explore new coal mines, they'd bring canaries down with them. The moment the air became too toxic, the canary would start screaming and singing and then die. This would first serve as an early warning sign or a system before the miners themselves went in. Your wife is the same thing with the health of your relationship. But how does this show up? In our program here, we have 5 unique stages towards marriage recovery. Now, when most men come to us, they're around stage 2 to 3 with their wife. However, they're on a downward descent towards stage 1 because objects in motion tend to stay in motion. When the wife's pulling away, she's going to continue to pull away until they do corrective action through our program to get her back. Now, what many men don't know in stage 2 to 3 is that when your wife is being bitter, angry, poking at you, complaining, being negative, this is her desperate attempt to fix things, to warn you of the death of the relationship, that it's coming. She is singing her song of worry, that there's toxins in the air of their relationship, okay? And once she gets to stage 1, it gets a lot harder to save the marriage because she goes into apathy. It's not impossible, it's just a lot harder. By the way, if you want to know what stage in the marriage recovery process you are in, I'm going to give you a resource at the end of this video to see what stage you're in and what corrective action you need to take to go to stage 5. But you must know, her complaining is a gift, and you need to start seeing it that way. It has been a gift this whole time for her to speak to you that way. I know it hurts you, but it's hurting your wound. But she's telling you what you need to improve to make her feel safe. As frustrating and as painful as it may be, the men in stage 1, where their wife is in apathy, they wish they can go back to the days their wife was yelling and complaining at them because she still cared. The biggest mistake you can make in this stage is to take her words literally though. Okay, for example, women, what they do is that they feel an emotion and then they just express it and find reasons and justifications for why they feel the way they feel. They are not consciously aware. Most women are not consciously aware of the true reasons why their husbands are making them feel the way they feel. Like, for example, the next time you ask someone why they chose to be with someone, they'll list that they were nice, they were caring, they were sweet, yet there are millions of people in the world that just feel that way. You see, attraction and the decision to stay within a relationship or to leave a relationship, it's often unconscious to a lot of people as to why. Now, the reason why this is so important is because a lot of men like yourself probably already have. You would take all the complaints that she did and logically you're going to try to just solve those issues. But no matter how many issues you solve, she always finds another reason to justify why you guys should not be together. And this is going to go to the next principle I'm going to discuss with you, which is identifying the true reasons why she's pulling away from you and to correct that so she finds excuses why she wants to be with you again. Now, I want you to imagine that this bottle represents the love that your wife has for you, the way she feels towards you. If it's empty, there's no love left. And so she's saying, hey, look, my bottle is empty. And every time you try to fill it, there are holes. There are reasons why it's just not going to be filled. There's stress from work. You don't have sex with me anymore. You don't take me on dates. You don't agree with me on the kids. There's just so much going on. So what you try to do as a logical guy is you try to find ways to patch up the hole. You'll make more money. You'll try to take her on dates. You try to talk about the problems, see a therapist. You'll do all these things, but it doesn't matter because she'll find more holes and more reasons to justify why she feels the way she feels. So you must uncover and understand how to fill up every single hole where she stops poking more holes and finding more reasons to just not feel the love for you anymore. And the thing is that you've been doing this process of fixing the relationship the whole time in the wrong way. As another example to prove, if you keep on using the same exact methods, it'll take you completely off course, which explains why you are where you are in your marriage. I want you to imagine right now Did you know if a plane was to take off right now in San Diego where I'm at, the airport's right there, and it was 1 degree off heading to Shanghai, that when it arrived in Shanghai, well, it wouldn't arrive there. It would arrive 2,000 miles off course, starting off 1 degree off from the center point in San Diego. The same thing has been happening in your marriage. You've been thinking that working more, that providing more, but just being this good guy and doing everything she says has been the right course for you. But it's been taking you completely away from what she actually needs from you as a man. However, if you find the exact actions that she actually needs to meet the needs that she actually has, she finds rationalizations and excuses to explain away your bad behavior. I mean, this is why so many women, they can be with a guy that has all these negative traits. And she's like, well, yeah, I don't care that he's been in jail, or I don't care. Those women aren't crazy, okay? Those men that are bad boys, they are meeting this woman's core need that she has. So all these other things on paper that should be a reason why she shouldn't be with that guy, it doesn't matter. And this is not exclusive to a certain type of woman. All women feel this way. And this is why when you've been sacrificing more and sacrificing more, you've been sacrificing the wrong thing, okay? As an example, when I was writing this script at a coffee shop the other day, I was listening to these two women. They're in their mid-40s, and they were talking. One of the women was just saying how, you know what, he just doesn't get it. And I was like, like listening, who doesn't get it? She's like, my husband just doesn't listen to me. Like the other day we were at a camping trip and I was just telling him I was overwhelmed and I couldn't deal with all this. And, the other woman, her other friend, I guess, a mutual family friend, was just complaining the whole time. And he came to her and said, hey, just do this, just do that. He was solving her problem. And I could hear this woman, the frustration, the annoyance in her voice when she said, he just doesn't get it. And that is a perfect example of the differences between men and women and how you were using logic to try to make her feel better. But what she needs are different behaviors that I'm going to show you in a second. This next principle is called the sun and moon. Now, before I share with you those traits, I want to share this line in the song Sun and Moon by Above and Beyond. It's one of my favorite songs. I'm sorry, baby, you were the sun and moon to me. I'll never get over you, you never get over me. It's a really good song. And I just wanted to find an excuse to put it into this video because the truth is that she is the moon and you are the sun. The sun shines its light outward, broadcasting everything, your presence, your mood, your energy, and it reflects her light as well. If you are happy, present, and light, so will she be too. She becomes a mirror to your inner state. This means she's always been following your lead in the first place. When you have led, she has followed. When you have shown strength and clarity and confidence, she has relaxed and showed her happy feminine state. Conversely, when you've been fearful and shut down, so has she. When you get bitter and show snide remarks or shut down, she starts to push all your buttons just to see if you care. See, in the positive way, your consciousness and what you project to her has been a good thing at times, but also you have these shadows that have been projecting onto her as well and really emanating and increasing her fear. Or as this one quote from Carl Jung says, when we do not want to assimilate what we despise, we project it onto others. Now, if you get this next idea down, this is what has you understand what's been really pushing her away. Because the behaviors that actually meet those needs are not so much things that you do. It is stopping doing the negative things that has caused the damage in the first place. Because once you remove those things out of the way, what happens is this natural love between the two of you, connection occurs. I want you to imagine it like this. You two will automatically connect when there's nothing in the way. And there has been fear and doubt and resentment and all of this crap that has been building between the two of you. And that's why when you guys are together, it feels like there's this invisible wall between the two of you. So the correct action is not so much doing things to her. It is all the stuff that has gotten in the way. It is the stuff that has made you go inward, shut down, and put up walls between the two of you, okay? So let's learn how to remove that. Now, the other day on a group call, I did a whole presentation with the guys in the program on trauma. And it's a very complex topic, but I simplified it down to 8 steps to take action to remove all that stuff out of the way. Let's go over those exact 8 steps that I told the guys on the program that I'll give to you as well. Now, before I go into this trauma loop that I created, I want to address something. When a lot of men hear trauma, much like myself as a therapist, it's been hijacked and it's been made as this buzzword. And I kind of roll my eyes when people mention their trauma and people have used it as like to reinforce their victim narrative. I'm a very practical individual. I want you to get the result that you want. So I wouldn't be conveying the importance of this if I didn't think it'd be useful. I want you to simply think as trauma as past things that have happened to you that have caused you to change the way you alter your perception and your behavior that then don't work in your current environment. Therefore, if you want control of your future, you must understand your past. That is all we're doing. Capiche? Let's jump in. So the first step that happens here is past trauma occurs. The way I define trauma personally is when a perceived need is threatened of not being met. The most common example is when you were a child. I don't know if this ever happened to you, but I would go to the grocery store. My mom, sometimes she would just leave me at the checkout counter, or she would go to another aisle and I couldn't find her. And even as a kid, it's not a big deal. But in my childhood perception of things, and perception is key here, I thought I was abandoned. I was going to be left alone. Right? That was a traumatic event. It wasn't a big T event, it was a small T. But most people don't realize that it is a culmination of small little triggered events over time that create this large change in perception of who you are. It's rarely ever these massive things that happen, although they can be. So after trauma occurs, then we have RAS calibration. This sounds fancy, but it's really simple. RAS stands for Reticular Activating System. Essentially, your subconscious brain is constantly scanning, without your awareness of it, of things in an environment that are either of gain or of threat. As an example, if I was in a forest with you and we were both starving and we saw this giant bushel of bananas, we're like, oh, our brains or our RAS would lock on to that food. But then if we heard a rumbling in the bush and a growl, we would lock on to that. And it's really important here to know that human beings, by their default nature, will lock on and focus or calibrate onto things that are more scary to them and more fearful than of gain. And it is important because you must learn to hijack that system to always focus on the positive, because your brain by default will always focus on the negative. Okay? Or as one of my favorite quotes goes from Abraham Maslow, if you walk around with a hammer, everything starts looking like a nail. So when trauma happens to you, your RAS starts to focus even more on negative events. As an example, when I was in college, I remember my car was broken into. And the moment I saw my car was broken into, I saw some guy kind of a block away. He was homeless and he looked at me and he ran off. And I was like, I knew it was him. For the next month, every homeless person I saw, I had like a hyper vigilant response. I wanted to fight the person. Not that I did, but I just had that negative reaction. You get to see how this applies to xenophobia, racism. I'm not going to go into that, but you get the point. When someone is traumatized by a certain individual, your brain will start to associate similar individuals with a triggered danger. Okay, so for example, when your wife has done things to you in the past, or you've done things to hurt each other, which you guys can really hurt each other because you're vulnerable in a relationship, your RAS start to focus on things that seem kind of innocuous or not a big deal, and you'll make them a danger. And you'll see how this plays out negatively as we continue, okay? But another example of this is, let's say when you guys are first madly in love and she's in the corner texting, laughing, right? Not a big deal. She loves you. There's no threat. You trust her, right? But over time, let's say later on, she had an emotional affair with some guy. There's nothing physical, but you saw some text and you didn't like it. So now every time she's on her phone, she could be texting her father, her brother, something with work. But if she's smiling, looking at her phone, you're going to perceive through your RAS calibration that she's texting another guy. And let's see how this plays out. We're actually going to continue with that example because it's a really good one. The third stage in this loop is hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is when you then perceive that danger, what happens is you go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Yes, there's a fourth one. I'll explain that. Right? So in that example with your wife texting some guy, or she's just on her phone, you don't know who she's texting, you may shut down and she says, "What's wrong?" And you don't say anything because you're shutting down. Or you may get angry at her, say, "Who are you texting? Who are you texting right now?" And then she's like, "Whoa, what the hell? I'm texting my coworker, but it's not that guy, it's some other guy," right? But maybe you don't believe her. Maybe you just leave the house in a huff and a puff and you slam the door, okay? Or maybe you start to fawn over her and you're worried, like, "Oh, is she texting that guy again?" And then you go buy her flowers and you're overly doting and she's like, "Whoa, why are you being so over the top? It seems weird." And what happens is that the more you perceive or calibrate danger, the more you become hypervigilant, you start to see more triggered things through this perception, which means the smallest of things now trigger you, okay? It could be the way her tone is, the lack of eye contact. It could be that, let's say she comes home from work and you try to give her a kiss and she's kind of like non-responsive. Now, she may have just had a hard day at work. Maybe she's stressed out. Maybe it's stuff with her mom. It could be a million things. But you're going to get super triggered and reactive to that. And you're going to think it's about you because now you're stacking these individual points in the past as history to prove that she doesn't love you, that she's pulling away from you. And as this continues, you're going to be more in your reactive behavior. You're going to continue to shut down. You're going to continue to fight back with her, be bitter. You're going to be non-responsive. You're not going to do things for her, or you're going to be overly fawning to her. So as we talked about with the sun and the moon, right, these triggered perceptions you have from your trauma, your shadow that you're projecting onto her, because women follow, she receives and amplify. She's amplifying your fear. She's amplifying your triggeredness. She's amplifying your instability, right? She's starting to feel more and more unsafe because you feel unsafe, okay? And we're not going to argue who went first. I don't care if she's had trauma in the past more than you. I don't care. We all have had trauma, okay? You have to recognize that our philosophy here at Marriage Reset is that if you heal yourself, if you learn to choose love and to go toward her and to remove that fear that blocks in the way, she will then open up herself because she feels safe. The feminine follows and the masculine leads. This is why it's your duty as a man to heal your own stuff, then to be that safe place to then heal her. But if you don't do this, she'll continue to shut down. She'll continue. The more you push her away, the more you think that she's texting the coworker, even though she wasn't. Now she feels distant from you. And now guess what's going to happen? She's going to start to pull away. And then she's probably going to start texting him or flirting with some other guy. And it's just going to reinforce your belief that you're not good enough, okay? That you don't feel good enough for her. But you don't know all along that this whole time you were creating it. It was you. And I don't say this to make you feel guilty, bad, because the beautiful part about this is that you also have the ability to heal this. If you are the one that created the problem, you can create the solution. You created all of it, all right? It's just time to change some of these beliefs. Because if you don't, you'll get the same result every time, which is you're going to continue to put this wall between the two of you. You're going to listen to fear, the danger. You're going to project on all this fear and insecurity onto her. And eventually, well, I don't want to say it, but the best step that you can have is to learn to understand these triggers, to be able to create this space of non-reactiveness, okay? And this is just one skill out of many that we teach within our program. However, the best step that you can take right now is to create awareness around these limiting beliefs, around these behaviors that you're not even aware of. As an example, I was speaking with one of the marriage evaluators yesterday, which you can set up a free call with him if you click the link down below. But let me tell you what happened on this call. The man on the call said, the guy was saying, she's pressing on my buttons and pressing on she's triggering me, okay, triggering. And the brilliant marriage evaluator said, hey, I understand that it hurts, but she couldn't trigger you if there wasn't a trigger to pull. You see what I mean, right? And the way she framed it on the call, the guy had a light bulb go off of his head. And he was like, oh my gosh, this has been me. And I know it's hard because so many other people out there will blame your wife. They'll try to make you feel better. And if what I'm saying, it's like a part of you is like resisting this, that's your ego. That's the part of you that doesn't want to change. And you can choose not to change if you don't want to. I'm never forcing anyone to make changes for their wife to be a better man. That's up to you. But the best thing you can do right now is to become aware of those triggers. And the best way to do that is to set up a call with our team. Okay, it's a free call. Just make sure you're fully invested, okay, and ready to make a change. Now, I promised you that I would give you the 5 stages video, so that's right there if you want to check that out. Again, you can set up a call with our team down below. Thanks for watching. Smash the like button. Helps the channel really grow a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.